Hello, everyone. I am Yiorgos. I'm the CEO of 100 Mentors, and I'm the host of the Generative AI Summit Podcast series. This is the fourth episode, and we are honored today to welcome Dr. Sokratis Kartakis. He's a leading figure in the field of AI and lately of Agentic AI, currently Global Blackbelt at Google Cloud. Dr. Kartakis specializes in operationalizing AI solutions across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific are additional territories under his jurisdiction. And he's the co-author of Google's white papers on the latest to his Agents Companion, and the other one, a pretty popular one, is operationalizing GenAI on Vertex AI, if I'm not mistaken. I have a lot of more things about his journey, also professional, both professional and academic one. I will ask you, Sokrati, about those. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that you invite me to this one, and I hope that today I will give you more insights around the Gen AI world and agentic era that we are in.
I'm certain about that. And actually, I wanted to start over with what you threw with Kaggle and Google. You had more than 200,000 participants in this workshop, perhaps a world record. What happened there? Congrats, first of all. Why do you think so many people are so interested and engaged?
Well, the previous centuries we had industrial evolution, right? Now we have Gen AI evolution, and this is something amazing that we see so much interest for everyone. This is great, actually, and I need to say that. In many environments that we see regulations, for example, many people they hesitate to innovate, and this is a sign that the people are there to try, fail, and success,
Exactly.
and be successful at some point with these new technologies that we have nowadays.
You're absolutely right, and I think this is where we should start as well. We should start with the basics, and we will get into more depth. So, defining agentic AI, which is the hype of the days. How do you define agentic AI, and how does it differ to like from traditional generative AI models? Let's start with that.
Yes, it is interesting. First of all, that we have traditional Gen AI, right? So
Already.
yes, 2.5 years ago we started, or even more. Actually, NLP is more than 10, 15 years old. But anyways, we started with Gen AI for the last 3 years actively. We had LLMs, large language models, that we used to ask questions and get answers back based on the generic knowledge that they had while they were trained. After that, we saw that, okay, we want these large language models to start answering questions based on specific context. And we invented the retrieval augmented generation. Actually, what happened is we will be able to link the LLMs with our own data. And based on this data, the LLMs were able to give us answers. And then that happened because the data, they didn't have a huge amount of input size, if I may say, right? So you had to
Mhm.
specify the context somehow. But after we had this data retrieval approach, the next point from the researchers was like, okay, why not making the LLMs also to act, right? And to perform additional tasks like calling APIs.
Mhm.
For example, I want the LLM to get directly data from Google search or from a weather API that is available out there. So this combination of LLMs, of tools, as we used to call them, that helps the LLM to interact with the outside world, and the orchestration of all these components is what we call today an agent. And this is mostly the let's say the environment of agentic AI.
That's amazing because you also walked us a bit through, the evolution from the traditional Gen AI to the agents. And I skimmed through a report from Menlo Ventures, which I liked a lot, which showed these changes in the architectural approaches of companies. And it says that agents from zero to they went to 12% of adoption in 2024, and it goes beyond 30% of adoption in 2025. Retrieval augmentation that you mentioned is stable, and it was pretty high actually. It increased, it captures more than 50% in 2024, and it's about there. And fine tuning and reinforcement learning is going down. Would you like to comment on how companies that you work with change their architectural approaches, and what do you see as the main approaches that your partners slash clients work on?
Yes. First of all the customers that I have, they want to transform their businesses using agents everywhere. Of course, I want
Great.
to note something, right? The agents is not for everything, or Gen AI even is not for everything. We don't need to forget about machine learning. We don't need to forget about SQL queries, rule-based systems, etc. I want to
Nice.
share also a secret and an insight, a common secret in the market, right? Not only the customers, but also the providers of the models. Most of the times, they don't have just a single model that the end users interact. Most of these models in the market, they used to be agentic models as well. That means that behind the scenes, yes, as I said, it is not just a single input to a deep learning model. It might be more complex. So we see everywhere the use of agents. It is very important because it helps us to improve efficiencies and productivity of our end users within a customer. That means that imagine that if you have specific tasks that are extremely, repetitive, and it consumes a lot of time for us. For example, I need to check these documents if they follow specific pattern, if they have all the different details that we need. This is a very uh, dummy task, if I may say. So, for all these tasks, you can easily replace with agents, and this can increase the productivity of the employees massively as they can focus now on tasks that are really important for the business.
Yeah.
That's
And
why everybody wants this. Yes.
I mean, you noted, and thank you so much for that. Being responsible on using agentic frameworks and identify when you really need them. So, how do you educate your own customers and partners, design partners about that? And what would you like to share with our audience when building their own solutions?
Uh, it is a journey that we take with the customers. First of all, our goal is the return of investment, right? I need to spend money on Gen AI, but I need to get money back. How can I make sure that this will happen? The first thing that I need to perform is an exercise to identify in which areas I have bottlenecks because of humans. Then I need to identify, is this task of the human something that I can replace with AI? Is that something simple? Do I have all the necessary components in place? Yes or no? And at this stage, we build, let's say, a tiger team, if I may say, that we have business owners, we have technical people, and we have our consultants, if I may say, or experts, SMEs in the domain. And we sit down together, we prioritize the use cases based on efficiency reduction most of the times, return of investment, of course, because of this, and if the feasibility of the use case, can this be implemented? Because sometimes you might want to implement a use case, but if it will take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to implement something like this, it does not make sense. We need to start with what will bring us value faster.
That's awesome and very tactical. You named one business owner, one technical person, one subject expert, right? Is that like three components that are indispensable? And can you speak about more how do you structure those teams, if there is any more meat there?
Yeah. Yes, of course. So this is the initial tiger team, right? That they need to identify something can be resolved by using AI. Then we have different personas in the loop that these personas might be the same people as well.
Hmm.
So after we have the product owner who knows what is the product that he or she needs to build, we need the SME, the subject matter expert. It might be a prompt engineer who knows what is the right question and the right answer of this system in order to build a bank of data, for example, to evaluate the solution. And then we have an AI engineer. This is the new uh, role that we have seen in the market. That this role is mostly responsible to know how to call the different foundation models, how to integrate them with the current systems, and
Okay.
make them work. And of course, AI engineers, they have now more responsibilities with the tools that I mentioned earlier around agents, right? Somehow they need
Hmm.
to know how to call APIs, how to call, applications. It is mostly now around application development era, right? Previously, with
Hmm.
machine learning, we used to focus on data science. We used to focus how to prepare the data to train the best model, how to configure the model. Now it is mostly how you place all the different puzzle pieces together and how you write the best prompt in order to have the best answer.
I think we have to revisit this. I want to ask for your opinion about what skills we need in such teams most, and as time goes by, we have all these you know main characters in AI saying that 30% of our code, 90% of our code is written by AI. And here you are saying that it's all about, not it's all about, but it's a main part of about what is the right question, and having the retrieving the knowledge from the subject experts, and how critical this is in building and evolving a product. But before that, I want, yeah, please, if you have a
If I may
comment on that.
interrupt you, because you
Sure.
mentioned something very important, right? Uh, as we know from machine learning era, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if we don't have the SMEs that they know the right questions and answers, probably even if we use the best model in the market, our AI solution will be very, very bad.
Exactly. No, this point taken, and this is super important. So, because you mentioned engineering and AI engineers, and you described pretty much the role and the what's the duties and the description, and we can speak about that. But first, I would like to explore a bit, the A to A, agent to agent, versus the MCP protocol by Anthropic, because you introduced agent to agent very recently. Google did, and you are one of the main figures speaking about that. I would really like to have your observations, and whether there is a distinction between the two, or any other comments that you want to make, so that we make clear what's the difference and when to watch towards the one or the other concept.
Yes, this is a question that we receive from most of the customers nowadays. Normally, let me demystify all this stuff, right? So we have
Perfect.
MCP, that is a protocol that has been created by Anthropics. This protocol is responsible to help the developers to use the tools with a very easy way. When I say tools, as we said earlier, an agent is an LLM, the tools and the orchestration of all this.
Okay.
So currently, if you want to call a tool from an LLM, you need to know the location, you need to do authentication, you need to do 1 million different things in order to call that correctly. So with MCP, you have MCP servers that they host, if I may say, a catalog of your tools. And you can say immediately, I want to use this tool by name. and then MCP is responsible to call this behind the scenes for you. So it is a way to utilize your tools with a very easy way. Agent to agent protocol is something different and complementary to MCP. Let's imagine that you have already created some agents using uh, other frameworks, like different frameworks like LangGraph, like Crew AI, or like the agent development kit, the ADK that we released in Google.
I want to ask you about that
So
as well. Let's
yeah,
keep in.
now, if you have implemented all these different agents, at some point when you build a chatbot, right, you might want to use all these agents. If you want to use all these agents, means that you need to talk with a language that an agent can understand. That means that you need to implement three different communication protocols because you implemented those agents with three different technologies.
Mhm.
So A2A comes to resolve that by by standardizing the way that the different agents can talk together, different or similar technology agents. And if I can have an analogy here, right? MCP is like uh, a mechanic. Let's say, let's imagine a mechanic, an agent that wants to use a wrench or a screwdriver.
Uh
That is a
huh.
tool.
Okay.
So he knows that he needs to go to that box, get this tool, and use it. Let's imagine now the A2A protocol. You have two specialist mechanics, one for the wheels, one for the engine, right?
Mhm.
And what is happening is the one for the engine says, "Oh, I hear a very bad noise from my wheels. Could you go and check what is happening there?" Then the second specialist goes and check the wheel, sends some videos to the other mechanic to say,
Mhm.
okay, this is the problem, etc. And more or less together, they resolve the issue and they complete the task.
Very interesting.
So multiple specialist mechanisms is like multiple agents under the A2A world, multiple tools in a box that I know which one to use easily is the MCP.
Perfect. Thank you so much for demystifying, deconstructing it. And as you named ADK, you mentioned this was also one of your Medium blog posts that you recently posted, and it has thousands of views. It's called "From Zero to Multi-Agent: A Beginner's Guide to Google Agent Development Kit," the ADK. Um, why is it so popular? I think you also linked it to a repository. Uh, how this can be useful to our audience?
In the market, there are different frameworks to develop agents. Those frameworks, they help you to write very simple code and to do the whole orchestration between large language models, tools, memory, sessions, different things that we can discuss further. In the market, we had many big players like LangChain with LangGraph. That was one of the frameworks that they had. Crew AI is another one.
Hmm.
There are 10 different frameworks, very robust frameworks out there. LangChain, by the way, they have released a blog post last week that they compare all of them. So what I
Okay.
can say is ADK, Google Agent Development Kit, what we did was to get all the best features from all the different frameworks and create a new framework that is specialized on creating with a very simple way multi-agent solutions. This is the idea. And because my role is under engineering team, I had the privilege to test that before everyone. And the day that we released this the day that we released that we announced ADK, the next minute I was able to publish this blog post that has 22,000 reads, and I'm really happy for that. And it shows, it is a signal that nowadays the people, they want to build agents. This is the most important thing.
Hmm.
And yes, ADK is very simple to use. If you follow also the Medium blog post, you will be able to build your first agent by yourself.
Perfect. And Sokrati, we will share the links not only to your post, but anything that you mentioned, comparison, the blog post, and anything that helps with having the overview of the tools and their orchestration frameworks that they our builders can use. I would like to go a little bit more on the enterprise impact side. So you have clients in EMEA, in APAC. That's very rare, to say the least, that somebody has both jurisdictions under their belt. So I would like to ask a very simple question: do you see any uh, differences when you compare the two areas in the clients that you have? I know this is kind of sensitive as well, but I speak about cultural maybe differences that you have observed between Asian companies and European companies.
Let's start with something that might be a blocker also for us in EMEA, that is about regulations, right? We are extremely highly regulated environment here in Europe. This is, of course, great, right? We need to protect the data. We need to protect the different end users. We don't need to expose, of course, those to the public, but this sometimes restrict us on innovation. And for example, if you need to spend 1 year with a customer to pass all the security reviews in order to use this new technology that, for your information, now all the foundation model providers, every 12 months, they kill a version of a model
Okay.
because it is deprecated. It cannot be used anymore. So, and if you need to spend more time in order to evaluate and to bring a new version of the model into your business, it is a big problem.
Oh, wow.
So, somehow we need to balance regulations, innovation, and to find the perfect convergence point. I think
Totally.
in APAC, I have seen incredible pace of innovation and the willingness to use new technologies. Of course, we have the
Uh-huh.
same here, but we are more regulated.
Clear, very clear. And let's see now, if we are a company that wants to work with you or any other providers. In terms of the implementation strategy, what are the key steps and considerations to for successful, like, starting launching agentic AI projects within an organization? How do you approach the clients? How do you start? Do you have like discovery calls? Do you have how do you work with those partners? If there are certain steps, if there is a methodology, and of course, if you want to share any use cases, not to name certain companies, but maybe use cases in certain industries that you would like to highlight.
Sure. First of all, to run GenAI effectively, you need to have some kind of cloud access. Why is that? Because to deploy the models that you need to use, even if they are open weighted or open source models, you need huge computational power. That means that you need a machine, a PC, with multiple GPUs, that each GPU might cost thousands of dollars. And this is not, uh, you know, not everybody can do that, if I can put it simple. And
Mhm.
also, the more accurate models are the larger models that definitely you need to have cloud access. So the first part that we used to educate everyone is around either cloud environments. Anyways, this is my everyday life, or we need to see how they can use APIs from different vendors in order to access the different models. So understanding of cloud is important. Understanding of what Gen AI is another very important aspect, right? Everybody wants to do a Gen AI, or even the past 2 years, nobody knew what was that. So this is,
Yeah.
we educate the customers to understand what is Gen AI and if they really need it. This is very important, and also they need to have the skills, because most of the
Yeah.
companies, they used to have software engineers that they want to jump into the Gen AI world. this is not always a good practice because you need to have knowledge about models somehow. Of course, you can upskill yourself and to achieve that.
And do you
And
see? No, no. Please continue.
after
Yeah.
you have these two things, right, and you have the knowledge,
Hmm.
then and only then you can start implementing knowledge, skills, and people. But to start implementing everything, one of the foundations of everything is data. I cannot see someone who wants to build a GenAI application not to have the data on the cloud or somewhere that uh, can feed the large language models, if I may say.
That's super interesting. And I'm guessing that it's part of the services you provide, and anyone, any other providers might provide. Do you work on the data before you start implementing? Is that a prerequisite? Do you run any tests or any interviews to make sure that you have the right data for for the problem to solve?
For sure. And if I can also mention the journey on the cloud, the first thing that you need to do is you need to enable accounts on the different cloud providers, whoever provider you prefer. If you prefer Google Cloud, you need to have an environment that we used to call it project, right? Somehow you need to
Hmm.
manage those projects. You need to have billing accounts. You need to have something that we call it landing zone that you can start using the cloud. The second part is you need to have a data lake, as we used to call it. What is a
Hmm.
data lake? In the past, we used to have multiple databases. We used to call them data warehouses on premise, etc. But now with unstructured data, images, videos, PDF files, etc., we have the notion of data lake that you can store both structured and unstructured data. And after you have these two main components, you can start irrigating the LLMs with new data and getting answers.
Perfect. That makes absolute sense and super clear to follow. It's very good to have these insights because we have a lot of operators who are not necessarily technical in their backgrounds. They are willing to learn, and they get very familiar with all the technologies. And this is what the era we are in. But the business people become more technical, the technical people become more problem oriented, and in order to be able to solve the problems end to end and not just write code. So that's very interesting to have people like you articulating what's going on very clearly and very simply.
And by the way, because you said about writing code, right? Nowadays, the code generation from Gen AI models is amazing. I don't know if you have used Gemini from Google, but it is annoyingly good, right?
Unknowingly
It
good.
can generate for you a fully functional website. Or for fun, the other day we created just a Tetris game, fully functional Tetris game, immediately without writing a single line of code. It was all generated by the model.
Exactly. No, the point here is also that we use internally different tools. We use ID like development environments as well, and of course you told me that, and we have agreed with everybody in this podcast that we will be speaking also as individuals, and we'll be sharing also tools that don't belong under the suite of tools that are in our company. So I want to say that we use Cursor ourselves, we use Lovable, Bolt, but we also use a lot Gemini. We also used, let me say, Gemini for our AI curator, which means that we selected Gemini as our go-to tool for a building block of our AI curator and moderator, which is the tool of 100 mentors, Wiser Work, which is a tool for meetings. And we are a lot based on Google's reliability and technology operational excellence. So we do a lot, and I wanted to ask you on that more tactical side. What about yourself personally and your teams? What do you use in your everyday lives? Can you share any tactical examples of how you increase efficiency and effectiveness with such tools?
Yes, there are different ways to use these tools. Personally, after we had the first very robust version of GenAI models, I increased my productivity by 100, 1000%. And this is not something that I uh, oversaying. What I mean is, in my everyday life, from summarization of my emails to listening to podcasts that I have generated based on research papers, instead of reading, listening while I'm in the tube, right? Or if I want, let's say, to implement a solution that I have never used a programming language, I can use that immediately. I had an example that I used a programming language that I have never tried before.
Okay.
I asked Gemini, could you generate for me this code based on this language? It immediately generated the code. Okay, you need to have some understanding of coding, but
What?
within 1 hour, I had a production level code
Yeah,
quality
that's
and
thrilling.
an
Yeah.
operational thing.
What
Yep.
language, if I may ask? Do you
It was
remember?
about Terraform, an infrastructure language that it is not common in the market
Yeah,
for
exactly.
cloud.
That's the point actually. If it's not very common, can you get production level output? Anyhow, that's very interesting.
There are different also tools. I used once another open source tool that they call it Aider, that you can provide the complete repository of your code,
Uh-huh.
and it has different modes, and this can have a mode of architect. Oh, I want to implement this new functionality for my code. Could you tell me what files do I need in order to achieve that? It tells you the files. This is how you need to structure your code. Okay, could you implement that for me? Boom, enter. And it generates the code and the files for you. And then you execute that. And then what you do is, oh, I have this error. No problem at all. You retrofit the error and it improves its own generated code. And you can have, let's say, a virtual programming assistant in order to help you to implement something. One
Amazing.
very another very interesting scenario is I used to write many blog posts, right? So
Mhm.
and for internal documentation or internal reporting and documents, what I did was to create a solution to, after I have my recording from a video call that we have with my colleagues, my slides, for example, I give that to the solution and it generates for me immediately the report or the blog post that I want to publish. Of course, I prefer to write everything by myself, but there is a beautification, if I may say, aspect of the LLMs that can help you make something more fancy.
So the augmentation factor is unprecedented here. Yeah.
And don't forget that we don't have only text, but
Right.
generation of images is another very important aspect. Generation of videos. That
Yes.
nowadays this is amazing. If you see, I don't know. Sometimes I say, okay, some marketeers they need to start becoming more prompt engineers for these tools and to
Yeah.
generate the end-to-end movies using those models.
And audio. I used we use a lot NotebookLM from Google. Oh my god! Like this is crazy because it's also it's maybe one of the most useful learning education technology tools also within our company. It's so easy to produce meaningful and relevant content for any kind of different workflows, different projects that we want to have a quick win. And you can also make it bite-sized. So Notebook LM produces essentially you can get to the point that you have a podcast with amazing speakers speaking, interacting on what you are working on, which is super engaging and very efficient and effective for learning in particular. But I can share more
Have,
about that. It's crazy.
by the way, Yorgos, have you seen the interactive version of NotebookLM and the podcast that you can jump into the discussion and start asking
Yeah.
questions immediately?
Yeah, please share a bit about that. And I had the opportunity to. I'm a subscriber of Lenny's podcast. If you are familiar, Lenny is like runs the most popular podcast for product owners, product managers, and I will share the link. And he had on his podcast the product manager for NotebookLM, and she describes the moment when they started working on this concept of having like somebody interacting with the podcast presenters live, and it's amazing. And as a the concept and the inception of it is brilliant, because again it helps you when you are engaging, as it happens in classes and everywhere. Everything changes. So yeah, everybody check
And
it out.
And by the way, to return a little bit back to the agentic discussion that we had, right? Nowadays, there is a big trend to create live agents. So most of the companies, they have enabled the bidirectional live streaming interaction with the models. That means that you can talk to the model, it
Uh-huh.
sends your audio directly to the model, and it replies back at real time, and you have, uh, let's say, the ability to interrupt the model on the fly.
Wow.
I,
Okay.
I Probably that I need to run you a demo for you, that not right now, but another time. That I used to use that with all of my customers, and I have created a chatbot with a live agent to talk about the Google Cloud products. And I say, okay, Gemini, could you tell me about Vertex and what is that? Model start talking to me and saying, "Oh, Vertex AI is this, blah 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 blah," and I say, "Stop! I don't want to know anymore," and I become rude, right? And this works amazingly well. It
Wow.
is like you have a human being that you discuss with. And by the way, I had another discussion with another customer, and
Crazy.
what he told me, it was something that it freaked me out. He said, "Oh, while I drive, because he drives a lot, I used to enable this live streaming capability of the model, and I used to have discussions with the model." Oh my god!
We are living
Yes.
in this era. Yes, exactly. Uh, that's great. I really love that. I have this input from you, and we would love to have a demo about what you just mentioned. We will knock your door later on to arrange it, and we can also do that at the summit in November if you are um, going to be present. We are working towards that, and we have invited you, and we will be glad to have you run some such demos.
Happy to be part of this.
Thank you so much. We are we have discussed a lot about the technology and what is going on in the space. I have so many other questions, but I will refrain myself. I want to move towards the direction of what is very interesting, also to a part of the audience that is uh, at at the heart of what we do with schools. And we have a program called the Tipping Point in Education, where we have mentors speaking to and interacting with students every day through live video and classes in more than 100,000 students per day in Greece. And I would like to ask you a bit about your journey and your background. It's the more personal part of the podcast. So, can you share a bit more about the journey from your academic background to the professional one, and how what happened? Where did you grow up, and how did you start working on AI and agentic AI right now?
Sure, happy to do that. The journey of my life is a little bit long with many, curves, etc. But I will try to summarize everything. I grew up in Korydallos, the very important area that we have in Piraeus.
Of
I'm
course.
coming from Crete originally. I did my bachelor and master in a master's in Heraklion, Crete, in computer science.
This is where I am
I,
from.
I went to the military. I worked in parallel with my studies in the research institute that we have in Crete. And at some point, after I finished with my duties in the military, I returned back to the research institute, but I wanted something new. And I did applications to different universities, and had the luck to be part of Yale University as a visitor researcher there, and to start my PhD. However, as I said, my life had many turns. My professor over there decided to move to industry because he had a startup, a big
Okay.
company bought the startup. So, as you can imagine, you need to move. So, I worked with him, but I really wanted to have a PhD, and I moved to Imperial College London, that I did my PhD in computer science. I wrote many algorithms for microcontrollers, communication theory, control theory, offline algorithms for cloud. It was an amazing journey for me. I learned a lot. And after my studies there, I moved to Intel, the R&D department,
Hmm.
and I continued my research. But Intel decided to close the office in London, and they told me, "Okay, where do you want to go?" I said, "I don't want to relocate either in Ireland or Munich." And I said, "It is time for a career change." And I joined Deloitte. Deloitte
Okay.
helped me a lot to understand the business side of things. That
Hmm.
is really important. It helped me to jump from an academic, semi-academic career to industry. I, I, I love the learnings that I had over there. I participated in some huge deals and some huge engagements that I'm proud of. But very soon I wanted something that was cutting edge and to be a combination of consultancy and cutting edge technologies. And I joined AWS, so Amazon Web Services. I was with them for 6 years, almost 6 years. I had the chance to prove myself and to build the first MLOps platform for AWS and the prescriptive guidance for all the customers. I designed and I help customers to implement their platforms to productionize machine learning and Gen AI. It was more than 200 customers. And I participated in multiple public events with thousands of audience. And generally, I like this interaction with real customers, real partners. It helps you to innovate a lot. Without them, nobody something. And then after I did everything in AWS. I helped the product team to release new products. Seven of my ideas became new products last year.
Wow.
uh,
Okay.
I said, okay, it is time now to try something new, and I joined Google. And I'm here in Google since September, but with a long experience, as you can imagine, from all the previous years, yes, in industry.
Quite a
And
journey.
I mentioned just
Yeah.
the top ones,
The
right? Not all the
highlights.
other things. Yes, exactly.
That's obvious, and quite a journey. But I really enjoy your enthusiasm, and I want to ask a very personal question. What keeps you enthusiastic? I mean, the era, this period is very exciting. It's like you are in the Renaissance, and you are in Florence, and you're ancient Greece, and you are in Athens, and you deal with what's hot. But what is the motivation behind you pursuing all these amazing milestones, and what keeps you very motivated today?
Motivation for me is equal to challenges. The more challenging something is what I love doing, right? I need to jump into this. I really love to occupy with things that nobody wants to try, right? I
That's
want to go to the very
awesome.
edge, and eventually I want to innovate. So if I have challenge and I innovate, is whatever I love doing in my life in general.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that seven of your ideas became a product, and it's very interesting that you put yourself in a position like in very large corporations that you can innovate. Uh, do you want to share any tactics also for professionals who are out there and work in large corporations about how they can earn their agency and ownership in projects they run? How would you approach it if you were like back in your, I don't know, 20s?
Oh, now you mentioned many, many good points there, because ownership is very important, right? You need to have the guts to say, I will do this and I will prove myself based on data.
Very good.
Second is, don't hesitate to fail. Fail fast is very important. If you fail fast and fail multiple times, the success is much bigger later on. And if you spend 1 year and then you fail, is a problem. If you spend 1 week and you fail and then you try something else and then you get successful, then you have won the game. So
I see.
uh, fail fast and scale. This is very important. How do you scale?
Hmm.
I have seen a mentality of people to be close to themselves, try to say, oh, this is mine, right? This is not the right mentality. The right mentality is one person can do great things, a team can do miracles. And this is very important to understand. Be open, discuss with others. Don't be afraid that somebody will steal your idea. This might happen at some point, but be prepared to have multiple ideas in your
Exactly.
pipeline, right?
Exactly.
And then, this scalability is very important of success, because then you can have others based on your ideas to bring success to the team as well. And this is amazing.
That's excellent points. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all these very honest and very straightforward like feedback and thoughts. And I think what you just mentioned is what we are missing. Also, I would say in Southeast Mediterranean. I will not just focus on Greece. Like the power, the willingness to give away ownership also, but also undertake responsibility, plus the skills and the willingness to collaborate is what we are missing. And what this period is calling us to do is asking questions, and particularly asking the right question. These are like the skill set that you just pretty much narrowed down into this framework. So that's, I think it's very good as a closing. I would also like to do something that we do with every guest. I would like you to find one question that you want me to ask to the next guest. That's a hard one. You can take your time to think of it.
Do we have any particular domain for the next one, or a particular topic?
So we have two guests. One is technical, a builder, one of those amazing builders in companies, startuppers, but companies that are changing the landscape in generative AI. And we also have operators. We have managers who are adopting AI, and they are motivating their thousands of employees to adopt it and to make it sustainably and responsibly. So you can pick.
Okay, I will pick a tricky one. I want you to tell me a time that you failed, right? And what was either the mitigation plan from your side,
Perfect.
or what would you have done differently, if I may say?
The, perfect. I will say that this comes from you and not from me.
No problem at all.
Dr.
You know,
Katakis.
sorry, before that,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
we are discussing with multiple people to write different blog posts, and one of the blog posts that I want to write is what can go wrong. What I want to say is many times we say, oh, everything was perfect, everything is amazing, but the lesson learned they come, when you resolve the problem. And I'm thinking to publish that soon, and to tell you in a journey of productionization what can go wrong. And this will be a good experience curve for somebody who will read it.
Amazing. Yes. Let's do that. And we are very much looking forward to your presence at the Generative AI Summit in November. And we're we're looking forward to meeting you again when you are back in Greece.
Thank you for this, and thank you for this very friendly and transparent discussion that we had, Yiorgos. Anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, and have a good one.